Development and Training Program at the Helen Keller National Center based in New York. Please welcome Bapan.
Hello there, everybody. Good morning. I want to say, first off, thank you so much to Monty for the introduction. I have to say that I definitely feel very honored to be able to travel here to the DBI conference. I'm very thrilled as well to be able to meet so many new people and see some old friends as well. This is my 4th time that I've been able to attend DBI, so it's been quite a journey over the years. The first time I did that, I attended DBI was in 2007 in Australia. And now I've made it to my 4th event, so I'm very excited to be here. There is so much happening currently in the world of education for deafblind individuals and within the deafblind community all around the world. It's incredible. So just to begin, I'd like to go ahead and give a brief synopsis about myself. Just checking in to make sure we have our first slide up. So this presentation, we have our first slide mentioning that it is a presentation on smart technology that will be able to empower deafblind individuals in their place of residence. So you may wonder, what is smart home technology and how does that make things accessible for deafblind individuals? So I can go ahead and elaborate on that. Next slide, please. Okay, on this slide, we have a few images of my village where I was raised. It's called Talari, and it's south of Kolkata in India. You may notice from pictures, if you're looking through the pictures currently that are on the slides, that there are no main hard streets, you could say. It's relatively primitive in this side of town, and I lived with my mother. In one of the pictures, I have an image of me printing on palm with my mother, which is where we write in one another's hands with capital letters to be able to communicate. And that's how we communicated back in the day. The reason why I show these images, and I wanted to take time in this slide, was to show that I come from a village where there was no technology. And this is essentially my beginning. I hadn't yet even heard the word of computer. I've never seen technology that was out there around the world at this time. Today, the world has had such a massive overhaul and so many changes that the way that I ended up even entering into the technology world is something I just initially couldn't even imagine. So to begin with, I ended up going to the Perkins School for the Blind in 1983. As you may know, it's a pretty well-known school. I had my first experience with modern technology there at the Perkins University, the Perkins School for the Blind. And it was shocking for me to lay hands on it for the first time, because in India, I noticed that we always had things like wood stoves and coal burners. We didn't have something that was electric. There was no electric grid for us to plug into. So to come to a land where everything was on the grid, it was a first world nation. This was the first time I had even seen the word technology. So I went ahead and laid my hands on several different items within the kitchen and was able to see the appliances and how they worked. I gained computer skills. I actually worked with an Apple IIE device, and it was paired with a braille device that weighed, I would say, probably somewhere around 20 pounds. And it was like maybe carrying around 3 or 4 bricks at that time. So it was a 20-cell braille device. And nowadays, I will use a focused braille display. And I'm carrying it up right now just to show how light it is. Nowadays, the braille displays that we use are about 1/3 of the weight they used to be. They were so much more cumbersome back in the day. But it's also a new world these days. With that said, I found myself immediately fascinated by technology, and I had so much to learn. I ended up getting into a computer writing program and learned how to build PCs early on, all the way from scratch. I memorized where things went in the computer system. I memorized where the casing was and the motherboard within it. And I ended up installing different components to make that computer run. That's how one of my hobbies in technology began. After that time, I went to university, and I was considering, but you would think that maybe I would go into more of a technological field, but actually I was interested in political sciences. I was fascinated with the law, and I wanted to be somebody who was there to break down some of those barriers and discrimination that deafblind individuals face on a daily basis. I figured that was something that I could do, and a gap that I could provide services for, to make the world a better place for deafblind individuals. I ended up attending the Gardner-Webb University. The accessibility wasn't quite there at the time, and so I transferred over to the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. That was a much better fit for me. There were way more services for me, and I stayed there until I received my bachelor's degree in political sciences. I was excited to get to work and maybe join a law firm, but looking around and at the scope of opportunities that are available, one just didn't seem to come up at the time. I had a friend, however, who worked at the Helen Keller National Center, and they told me that tech instructors were needed at that place. So I didn't have a degree in computer sciences at the time, but my friend said, you know, I have a feeling that with your expertise in technology, even though you've made a hobby of this, all these years you've been honing your craft, so I think you'll be a good fit for it. So I went ahead and applied for something that was completely off the grid from what I started to go to school for, and that was back in 1998. I attended an interview for a position, and I got the job at the Helen Keller National Center. So I ended up moving there. And that's really where the beginning of my journey with the deafblind community goes, and teaching them how to use technology. Next slide, please. I was very eager to get to work. I wanted to show deafblind individuals how to use computers and braille displays, screen magnifiers. So I continued to research in my position and find new technologies that were out there. And I expanded the department. We started with a small team, and we ended up growing to a larger team of staff, and I eventually became a supervisor. And I continued working there for quite some time. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Technological Advances. Once the door for communication was opened, deafblind people around the world were able to find the access to the world around them. So in my position, I encourage many deafblind individuals within our community to be independent, to find that autonomy within themselves. Oftentimes, we'll find that deafblind individuals are quite lonely. They have limited access to the world. There was an individual at the Helen Keller National Center whose name is Anne Sullivan. Anne was essentially Helen Keller's technology person within the field, but they were an interpreter, but essentially they're the eyes and ears for individuals who are deafblind. But instead of that, now we depend on technology instead of having to depend on a human individual to feed us information of what's happening in the world around us. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Smart Home and Assistive Technologies. Technology has come such a long way over the years, especially in the field of smart home technology. Nowadays, you can use this technology to check things like the temperature within your home. You can set it to be cooler or warmer. You can even consider the option of when you go into your home, making sure that you have some sort of safety system enabled. If you're a deafblind individual, you don't want somebody coming into your home without you being aware of it. So now we have ways for a message to be sent to your phone saying somebody has entered your house. And that's how we're kept aware of what's around us and what's happening within our home. I even control the water boiler in my home from an app. If I want to increase the water heat for the house, then I can do that there. Or if I want to decrease the temperature, I can also do that. If I want to weigh myself using a smart scale, I can also do that. Maybe let's say if I feel a little bit embarrassed because I'm gaining some weight, I don't want to rely on others to tell me that. I don't want to ask them if I look okay. I'd like to go ahead and step on the scale within the comfort of my own home. And I can do that now. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Lockly, Lock on the Front Door. So this is a smart home device called Lockly, which is L-O-C-K-L-Y. We have a video here. If you don't mind playing this video for us, it has captions and also has audio.
So now I'll do this here. Press my finger on the side, detects my fingerprint, and now I'm able to open my door. So that's cool, right? I'm able to open my door easily just using my fingerprint.
So this is cool, right? You can use your fingerprint on the door lock before you get into the house, and that's how you can get in. I think it's pretty neat. You also have the option with that device to have a unique code or a key made. So you can either use somebody's fingerprint, or you can send them a code through your phone, and they can use that unique code to enter the door for themselves. They can key that in with a touchpad. For me, I don't use a touchpad. I use the other options available for me to get in. So I think that's very neat. You can add up to 128 different codes on the device, each unique to an individual. So I can have one for my wife, my son. I can have one for each of my friends, so that if somebody enters my home, I get an alert saying that an individual specific by name has entered my home. So I think that's pretty cool. It's also a lot safer for me to know who's been entering my house. Next slide, please.
So now,
that was just a brief recap of the video. We're on the next slide with the title Fitbit Weight Scale. So for a scale in your home, for what I could do is I could step onto the scale and it connects to my phone and I can check my weight and even save it as part of a log. That way I can keep a record of where my weight gain or weight loss has gone over a period of weeks, let's say, and I can assess my my body mass index as well, my BMI. Through the app, I'm also able to see how many calories it's estimated that I've used, so that I can help cut down on that weight gain if needed. Next slide, please. This slide's titled Honeywell with AC thermostat. So you may wonder how you can use a thermostat within your home as a smart home tech device. And there's one company called Honeywell. And through the Honeywell device that I have in my home, I'm able to control the temperature within my house. So I can either change that to Fahrenheit units or Celsius. I'm also able to schedule different temperatures for different times of day. So during the day, when you need more of an AC blast, I can go ahead and make the house cooler, and at night I can make it a little bit warmer. If something happens to where I've accidentally had the AC turned up too high, I can control that and fix the problem within my app. Yesterday, actually, as a current story, in an anecdote, I have a service animal, a guide dog that I've left at home because he's going to be 13 soon, so for him, traveling is very cumbersome. I've actually asked one of my friends to stay home with that service animal and watch over him. And yesterday, the AC broke down. And I was able to see an alert on my phone saying that the AC had broken down and the house was registering 83 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very hot for the people in it. I was able to contact the AC services and have a maintenance technician come out to my home. And last night, I checked the temperature again, and it's gone all the way down to where I wanted it at 74 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect for the area. And that was validation for me to know that I didn't have to text my friend and ask how the AC was, ask if it had been repaired. I was able to independently look for myself on my phone. So I think that's pretty neat, right? Next slide, please. There's a slide saying Aqualink Pool Management System. So I have a swimming pool that's as part of my property on my home. and I have smart technology set up for that as well. What I do is I'm able to change the water temperature within the pool. So during the winter time, living in Florida, winter time, it does get a little bit cooler at maybe I would say 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's still a good time to swim. So if I want to go out in the pool, I can change the temperature of the water to be more comfortable to maybe a nice 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so I can swim even when it's cold out, which I think is pretty neat. In the morning, from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock p.m., I set a schedule to be able to turn on the spa and also turn it off for the evening. My son is 14 years old, and he loves the pool lights that we have because there are different colors you can set them to. We have LED lights that are installed within the pool, and they have a rainbow of colors across the spectrum. So we can have, let's say, a disco mode where the lights will flicker and flash. And my son loves that, so it's very fun for him. That's one way that I encourage him to go out and swim. It's really neat, I think. Since I'm deafblind, I don't gain too much from the colors of the lights, but I can see in my app which color it's set to, so I'm still able to control that, even autonomously in that regard. So I think that's incredible. Next slide, please. And as a visual note, there's a screenshot on the slide that says Bapool, is which Bapin has named his pool. Next slide says iRobot Roomba Vacuum Cleaner. And this is Bapin. So I have a service animal, right? As having a guide dog, I experienced the shedding of a guide dog. So it might take me an hour to go around the house vacuuming every day if I were to keep up with it. But that's a lot of time. So I thought outside the box here and decided to go ahead and get an iRobot Roomba vacuum. So that vacuum cleaner is set on the schedule around my house. Bright and early at 8 in the morning, it'll make its way around and clean up around the house. And I also get a warning message within my app if need be, where it will say that the bin is full, the trash bin. So I'll go and find the Roomba, and I'll empty the trash bin, and it'll get back to work. Sometimes it gets stuck because as it goes over a new surface, it may come off the surface a little bit or fall over. So I get a message from the app saying that maybe there was something in its way, like a sock on the floor, and it'll tell me to go pick that up and get it out of the way of the vacuum because it's been stuck. So I think that's also pretty cool. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Fans and Lighting via the Lutron app. The Lutron is a smart home system. It's a light system and also connects to fans. It's also a switch to control the garbage disposal in my kitchen. It controls my lights. It controls my garage door. And for me, you may wonder what I need lights for since I'm a blind individual, but I will say I live with other hearing individuals who are sighted, and they benefit from the lights being on. So if I have somebody in my home who has the lights on and then I forget to turn them off once they leave, back in the day, what I had to do is go around and manually check all of the light switches. So I'd have to go room to room, making sure that all of them are off, and maybe turn a fan on, but otherwise keep all the lights off once my friends have left. But nowadays, what I can do is look at my phone, and I can see which rooms around the house have which lights on. So I can manually, from my phone, control that and turn them all off. I can even select all and turn them all off at the same time, which is also very helpful. Another reason I have this system is that I like to keep lights on at night so that it's more secure. Nobody thinks that the home is vacant and they'll have an easy time getting in. Also, I have a service animal, and for their sake, I try to keep the lights on so they can get around still. I think it's an incredible advancement for me to be able to do that these days. And when I leave for the day, if I'm going on a trip or I'm leaving the house, I can turn the lights off with my app, not have to worry about doing it manually, and then on the way back, just as I'm arriving, I can turn them on. If my family's about to get home, I can do the same thing so they don't have to walk into a dark house. I can turn the fan on as well. I can control the speed of the fan, so at nighttime, if I'm feeling a little bit lazy and I don't want to get out of bed to go turn the fan on higher, then I can just sit from my bed, pull out my phone, and turn off the fan or even lower the speed. Let's say if it's on speed level 6, I can turn it all the way down to 2. And that would be fine, that'd be just fine for me. In my sink in the kitchen, I have the garbage disposal. And if I turned it on and forgot to turn it off, after some time, it'll alert me that the garbage disposal has been on for a while, so I can turn that off. If my garage door is open, it'll alert me about that as well, so I can make sure that the garage door has been closed for security. So that's a good way for me to keep in mind to know what the status of my house is. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Rain Soft Water Softening System. So in my home, I have pretty hard water as a standard. So I decided to add a water softening system. That system is also a smart home gadget. Through an app, I'm able to look at how much salt is being used and what the capacity is for the salt that's left in the bin, instead of me having to go and physically check and see if I need to refill it. I also get alerts on how much water I'm using every day as an exact amount. If I ever see a number that's way too high, then I'll know that something is wrong. And I'll be aware of that before the cost increases and I get the water bill at the end of the month saying that I've exhausted quite a bit of resources. Every day, I typically, when I'm at my home, use about 100 gallons of water, but if I ever see that number go up to 300 or 400, I know there must be a water leak. So now I'm aware of the problem of having a water leak around the house, and I can take corrective action to solve that problem. Next slide, please. This is called Ream Glass Water Boiler. In my home, I do have a water boiler set up, and I can change the temperature of the water. If I'd like it to be hotter for the household, I can turn it up, or if I'd like to keep it a little bit lower, if I'm on, let's say, vacation mode, I'm not in the home, I'm away, then I will go ahead and change that through the app. There's a sensor that's connected that will alert me to the water tank status. So if there's ever a leak and I have an issue with my water boiler, I'll get an alert for that as well. Next slide, please. This slide is titled Total Connect 2.0 Home Security Alarm System. My home does have a home security alarm system. With that system, I can have either the ability to arm or disarm it through my app. At times I may just forget to disarm it when I get home, in which case my phone will alert me and say, your home alarm is going off. So I can go and turn it off from the app. That's pretty neat, right? Back in the day, in the way back of the day, we had to use a keypad to be able to lock the house. I wasn't too interested in this idea because I'm not sure if it's armed or disarmed. There's no way for me to tactically find out. So now, for the first time with a smart home gadget, I'm able to check that through the app and see its status. In the case of an emergency, if anything were to happen, like a fire or anything, I can call the police through the app. I can have a firefighter come. And it also shows me on my phone the status of those people coming. Next slide, please. This slide's titled Greater Goods Blood Pressure Monitor. So I want to detract from the PowerPoint just for a moment and show you I do have a device with me today. It's a blood pressure monitor. And for me, I check my blood pressure on a basis of about once a month. So that was a struggle in the past because there's no way for me to be able to read the results of the blood pressure monitor. So nowadays, I was able to research and find a Bluetooth blood pressure monitor that I can, for the first time, access through my own app on my phone. I'm getting it now to show you all. And Bappin is holding up a blood pressure monitor with a screen of about 4 inches by 2 inches. He's adjusting the cuff size to be able to put it on. And Bappin's turning on the blood pressure monitor, which is on his arm now. Right now, I'm starting to feel the constriction from the blood pressure monitor. It's activating at the moment. If I turn my arm towards you all, some of you may be able to see that the numbers are rising in the blood pressure monitor to show my real-time status. And Bapin is using his hands on his braille display to gauge what the blood pressure monitor is displaying. On my phone, I can see that it says the numbers are increasing, so it's not finished yet. It's still getting a read. The blood pressure cup is starting to speed up with its construction. The blood pressure monitor is still inflating. On the screen, it's displaying 175, 182, 190, and still rising. And it ended that Bapin saying, let me go ahead and check the official read. And through his braille display, Bapin is tabbing down to the correct reading of the blood pressure monitor. I see that it says 119 over 84. I'm just panning along to read. It says that my pulse is 91 currently, so my blood pressure is good. Not bad, right? I think that's pretty cool. I'll just go ahead and take this off here. The last piece of technology I want to display. Okay. During COVID, many of us experienced, for the first time, no-touch thermometers. I'm going to hold this in front of my forehead about 1 inch away and press the button. And now I'm going to go to my braille display and see what it says. My braille display is saying that I'm at 97.7, so I'm not sick. So this is another example of how smart technology has come such a long way, and it's improved the lives of deafblind individuals around the world. Nowadays, you can do everything yourself. Forget about having another human who is going to be the person feeding you information and helping you along. Nowadays, we can stand up and say that we deafblind individuals can be autonomous as well. So I want to say thank you all for allowing me to come out here today and give a presentation about my smart home devices and other smart technologies. If you do have any questions, now will be a great time for me to take those questions, and I do look forward to sending you all the PowerPoint at a later time. I think now is a good time for us to open up for questions and answers. If your hand could be raised. Okay, looks like we have a person chosen from the audience. We're going to come around with the microphone.
Hello, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. My name's Penny from Canada here. I would like to know how do you alert yourself if the fire alarm goes off and you're sleeping? How would you know?
Well, I have two different options that I can use. The first of those options is, it's kind of a bit of an older system, I would say, but from the company Silent Call, there is a product that is it's called VibraCall. What you do is you install your smoke detector in your house on the ceiling, and then you have a vibrating device that connects to it, and it connects to your bed as well. So if any alarm goes off or detector goes off, that handheld vibrating device that you can clip to your belt, let's say, or put in your pocket, starts to go off. Another one that you can use that's more modern is the Ring device. That comes with a fire alarm system and also a smoke detector, which you can install and you can pair with your phone. Your phone will start to vibrate as an alert if any alarm goes off or detector goes off. And you can also call emergency services through that app. That one is the Ring app. And again, you can call immediate emergency services to come to your aid. And those are the two options that you can use these days.
Can you just spell the name of that device that you guys said about the vibrating device?
Sure. The first device I mentioned is called VIBRACALL. So that's Vibra Call. And that's under the Silent Call company. The second option would be Ring, which is RING, which you all have probably heard of these days. The company has many products under their line. They have doorbells, they have cameras, they have fire alarms. So many products under that company's name.
Hi, hello, my name is Trudy. I'm from Australia, Melbourne. Is there any adaptable technology for when it snows, you know, like I worry about people slipping over and all that. Is there anything to melt the snow or anything like that?
Right. Well, and this is Babin speaking. You know, I would say to begin with, I don't have all the answers, but I do know that one idea is if you have a smartwatch, for instance, I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now, you can set up an SOS alert. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you slipped on ice and you fell, if you call the SOS service, then an emergency services individual will come out to you. They'll either contact your family as whoever the primary person is for your emergency contacts. That would be one option in the case of an emergency like that. One of my colleagues is Laura McBride and Casey Weldy. They're going to be talking about emergency systems later on this week. So if you're interested in that, they do have a workshop coming up, and there'll be more information on that. For my workshop, most of my research for the purposes of today would be for smart home technology. And this is just a brief overview, only the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much out there. But there are constantly new devices being developed and improvements being made to make individuals who are deafblind more autonomous and independent. We have a question from the crowd saying, okay, to begin with, my first question is, for smart homes, are the costs of those products very high and exorbitant? The second question I have for you is, for an iPhone, if I were to pair that with a Focus 14 Braille display, then I do know that you can set it to where you can have navigation set for you as you're walking somewhere. It's not easy, however. It's hard to be able to exactly navigate and find where you're going. Is there a way to use a smart device and use your Braille display while you're also holding a cane in the other hand to try to navigate. Oh, and this is for the interpreter. Babin is wondering who that person is from the audience, what their name was. And the name is Andre Tybalt. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And we're asking for a repeat of the first question. Andre is standing up again saying, okay, my first question for you was, for smart home technology like that, is the cost extremely high? Is it expensive to purchase equipment and softwares like that? And this is Bapin. Okay, I want to start by saying that's a very good question. Honestly, it does depend on the type of smart home technology that you're purchasing. If you would like, for example, to convert your home to be an entirely smart home, it's going to take quite a few appliances that are smart appliances and other devices that will connect to them. So you're right, that can be pretty expensive. But to start with the basic equipment, I would say for a smart home device like a thermostat, that could be $300 to buy a smart thermostat. A door lock could be around $215 American, the US. And there are other costs, of course, that will start to go up from there, depending on the intensity of the device. For things like a dryer for your clothes, kitchen appliances, stoves, all of those can come at different costs depending on where you get them from. What was that second question that you had for me? And Andre is standing up saying, okay, my second question is, if you were to connect your iPhone or your smartphone with a Focus 14 Braille display, what I would do in that instance is I have one hand on the Braille display trying to follow with Braille navigation, and the other hand has a cane. So for me, it's pretty tough. It's not exactly easy to do both at the same time. How do you get by with that? How are you able to find a comfortable position to walk in holding your device, but also your cane for GPS services? And this is Bapin. What you can do is you can use your Focus 14 Braille display, like you mentioned. I have a strap for mine, so it goes around my neck, and it rests at about my abdomen area. I have a Focus 14 Braille display that has a strap that goes around my neck, and it rests at my abdomen area. So for me, what I do is I have a service dog, so I will hold on to the harness with one hand, and I have GPS set on my phone, and it's connected to my Braille display. So all I have to do is have one hand on the harness for the guide dog and the other hand on the Focus 14. I can even do things like read text. If I ever want to respond to a text, I need to use both hands for the 8-dot typing system, so I'll stand. If a hearing person were to come up, what they look like walking is pretty much holding their phone in their hands. And for me, I don't really stand for that. I don't like when people bump into others because they had their face in their phone. So I'd rather be paying attention to where I'm going. But as a rule of thumb, I'd say that for all of us, we probably shouldn't use a phone while walking anyway. And Monty is coming onto the stage, and Bapin's saying, do we have time for a final question? Monty is saying, okay, you've got to go ahead. Okay, we have one more question. I see a hand raised in the back.
Hi, Michelle speaking. Michelle Stevens from Australia, Deafblind Victoria. Okay, so my question is, Deafblind IRA. Do you know about their IRA, spelled AIRA, where people can assist? Look, I don't know. It's a very new technology. Do you know about that one?
And as a closing remark, asking if Papin knows about this technology. And the spelling again is AIRA. And this is Papin. I know that time is running short, but I would say the quick answer to that is it's not a perfect system. It's great for speech and for listening capabilities, but as far as Braille goes, it's quite a little bit shaky. It uses AI technology. Anytime you use AI technology with maybe infrared or some sort of camera, it doesn't exactly work perfectly. I think we have a long way to go before we're there. But I can meet you one-on-one later. I'd appreciate the opportunity to go further into that. So as a closing remark, thank you all for having me here. Looks like we're about to wrap up this presentation, and we have Monty walking back on stage.
Well, I think we all can agree that this has been a wonderful, very informative session. So we want to thank you, Papin, for the knowledge you've shared. So